Annette with Sun to Shine Astrology and Tarot, and welcome to another astrological event that I want to talk about that is going to be happening on December 14th, 2020. During this event, there is going to be a new moon solar eclipse that is going to be happening in Sagittarius. Now, we just went through a lunar eclipse that was in Gemini on November 30th, 2020. And that eclipsed out something that is very confusing in our mind. It could be something that is adding a lot of mental chaos or some sort of duplicity in our thinking, and you didn't know which facts to trust, what was the truth, what wasn't the truth. And so you were kind of in a mental stalemate in your mind about how to move forward. And even if you could move forward, and then if you did move forward, what direction would you even go in? So it's been a confusing year, filled with a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of instability, and a lot of confusion around what is actually a fact. And I think that that's the important discussion about 2020, a provable, sustainable fact. And what is a fact that is based around an agenda, something that can be skewed, something that is misinformation, something that is misleading, something that causes more confusion than it does help us to make a decision. So a fact should be something that you could prove, and it should end the argument. It should end the discussion. It should help form a decision. But I feel like this year has been anything but that. And I feel like for most of us, with all of this Gemini energy that we've been having in the North Node, I think it's been really difficult for us to point our compass north in the direction that we're supposed to be going in, on the path that we're supposed to be going down. We've also had another very interesting dynamic going on, and that is that we have had Chiron in Aries, which has been in retrograde. We have also had Mars in Aries. It was in retrograde, and then now it's moving forward. And so we were struggling to identify certain things in our lives. What we identify with, who we identify with, and why we even identify with it in the first place. Is it a label? Is it a societal norm? Is it some sort of imprinting? Is it something that we should identify with? Is it something that we shouldn't really identify with anymore because it's not a progressive mindset, and it won't be something that we will be doing in the future? Now, if you can take a look at this from the big picture, if we can look at this from a bird's eye view, we can see this for what it is, and it has been a time of debunking all of the inconsistencies and all of the instability that controls us in some way. And when I say that it controls us, it has power over us in some way. So we've had Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto all conjunct in Capricorn. In Capricorn energy, there's been so much powerful information that has came out, showing us where our rules and regulations are antiquated, and of course they don't apply to a current society. And so you can't control somebody who is abusing power or yielding power for personal gain with laws that weren't complete. They were the beginning of a thought process but it wasn't thorough. At the same time, Uranus has been in Taurus, and it's been in retrograde and lately, and it has been wreaking havoc because we don't value the things that we should value. We don't value the simple things in life. What we value is attaining things and a status and recognition. We also value things that make us super comfortable. Now, it doesn't matter if these things are good for us. We value that consistency of a comfort zone. So with Uranus being in Taurus, anytime Uranus gets into anything, it adds an element of chaos. And it's funny because in Taurian energy, you're thinking how much chaos can be caused in such a steady, slow, subdued kind of energy where normally Tauruses don't move forward unless there's some level of stability, right? True. So what we've noticed is that nothing has moved forward. We can't seem to move past anything. We can't seem to be productive in anything. We can't attain any goals at all. The chaos has been we can't do anything. And so there's been no progression. And in fact, you can see what happens when people are so ego-based and they're so caught up in their own agendas that they simply are so stubborn, that would become the Taurus energy, that they will not yield, they will not listen, they will not compromise. It's just, they're plain stubborn. You see what living in a stubborn mindset, rigid and overly conventional, traditional thinking can actually do. You can see how toxic it is if, of course, it's in an extreme. We've also seen with Uranus and Taurus that we have this microscopic organism, whether you believe that it was created by some foreign entity or whether or not you believe that it's something that, it's a virus that has mutated into what we now call our coronavirus. You can see what a microscopic organism, what nature can actually do to set us straight about just how much power nature has over us. So there have been wildfires and just terrible flooding and terrible world weather events, but on a bigger scale, worldwide events with a microorganism. A tiny little microorganism has brought our economies to a halt. It has brought down families. It has brought down governments. It has brought down our ability to be able to have any sort of control over what we're doing. A microorganism. It blows my mind when you really think about the utter chaos that nature can cause in our lives. And instead of being humble and doing the things that we have to do, wearing a mask has really nothing to do with my ego. I don't care if I put a mask on and walk out into public. It doesn't bother me. But a discussion is if it's forced, right? If it's governing body is forcing you to do, then does that take away the power of others to be able to live their own lives? And I feel like the discussion is powerful in that way. I feel like people are tired of restriction and constriction as far as in choices. And we're going extreme with it, of course, because this is the first time we've had a discussion on this magnitude. You have to understand that these conversations are bigger than us little peon human beings, because this is a global redirection to put us back on the right path. We have been entirely too ego-based, selfish, and we have had no compassion for the human plight of others. And there has been a lot of things getting out of control. And we just wanted to keep our eyes closed and be complacent because we didn't want to challenge anything, because we didn't want this level of instability. And so for most of us, we've always just surrendered the way that it's always been. And so, but this time is breaking us free from that. And the reason I'm bringing all of that up is because I'm trying to give you a foundation of the bigger picture. You cannot look at things on such a simplistic view. On December 14th, there's going to be this solar eclipse that's going to be happening in Sagittarius. Now, as all of that stuff was stirring up all this energy in our environments that we react to on a day-to-day basis, our physical realm, there's been a much higher conversation happening in your spiritual realm, in your divine purpose, in your divine destiny. And for some of us, we were so lost that it took something this big to redirect us. So one of the things that's happening during this solar eclipse that is going to be in Sagittarius is we have a lot of energies in their final degrees. So final degrees, or critical degrees, is 29 and 0 degrees. When the solar eclipse happens in Sagittarius energy, Saturn is going to be in 29 degrees. It's in a critical degree. So Saturn, the planet that rules karma, rules, regulations, structure, control, right? Most importantly, karma. It is conjunct Jupiter and Pluto in Capricorn. Now, Jupiter is in 28 degrees. So 2 plus 8 is 10, right? And Saturn in Capricorn, that's in 29 degrees. So 2 plus 9 is 11. So this is a spiritual conversation, a higher, more elevated conversation with the divine about how do we move forward. Because what this does stem down to is, if you look at 28 and then you add it and it's 10 and then you reduce it down to 1, it's everything starts with you. That's what the whole point has been, is for something this big to really impact us and for it to really challenge our ego. Something massive had to happen to shake us as an individual out of places where we avoid, we hide, we embellish, we create facades around, we block off from our consciousness. It was to bring forth all of that out into the open to us on an individual level. We have seen behaviors in people that we thought we would never see out of certain people. I remember a long time ago, I didn't know who or what party somebody voted for. We just liked each other. We didn't care about whether or not somebody was a Republican or a Democrat unless there was some extremeness in that conversation. It was a very, divided conversation. Well, then, yeah, you just didn't go hang out with that person. The person wasn't for you. Because they didn't, you guys didn't agree, but that didn't mean that they were a terrible person. It's just like, okay, move on to the next person. But I would say that the majority of the time I was not conscious of politics. And that's another thing. This has been a time of consciousness about things that were deeply submerged. And we've done everything to mask that from our consciousness. Because maybe it wasn't acceptable, maybe socially you weren't allowed to explore these, these new ideas and the new ways that I see things and you identify with things. That's what happens when you get in a 29th degree of anything, right? It is time to face your karma, you know? So, what was eclipsed out was your inability to see things for what they were, to not be able to face your truth, to um, challenge what you identify with, right? And then what did you do with that? You know, who are you really? And then what you have to do is step in front of karma and pay your dues, right? Pay off that karmic debt that you were always supposed to face at this time in your life. Everything that we were told that we were, programmed to believe that we were, labeled and classified that that's the way that we are, all of that has completely changed. Now I think we find it really, really hard to identify with anything. So 29 degrees, which 9 plus 2 is 11, is the ability to connect to spirit, to channel spirit. It is divine guidance, if you want it. And it is being elevated enough to receive a message from source. When we get to this 29th degree, we're coming to a conclusion. We're attaining wisdom from that conclusion. And this has to do with a karmic lesson. Now, this is also the repercussions of anything that we have done that has been self-serving, where we have abused power, where we may not have been compassionate for others. This is areas where if we were financially unstable in some thought process, if we trusted people that we shouldn't have, then during this very karmic ecliptic season, we are going to get the clarity that we need to this very long karmic life lesson that we've been on for quite some time. And because this is a big culmination, this is a really big conversation, where we had an unstable foundation, where we had instability deeply submerged in our minds. It may be a while before we can completely decipher what this very karmic time and the conclusion to our personal karmic lesson actually was. So I have made a couple graphics here that I'm going to put up regarding the positive energy that is going to be in the solar eclipse and the challenging energy that we will have to endure during this solar eclipse. So first we're going to start out with the challenging energy or the negative energy. So a challenge, it pushes us, it forces us sometimes even to make changes or to take action that we necessarily may not want to take. So the energy that's going on that is in the challenging energy, there is going to be, with the solar eclipse that's going to be in Sagittarius, there it's going to be a square with Neptune and Pisces. Okay, whatever is coming into your life needs to be based on some sort of reality, something that you can physically attain. This can't be based on illusion or delusion of any kind. This can be based on enthusiasm, and you can be idealistic about it, and you could be hopeful about it. And I'm sure that there is some level of illusion to it because it's not your current circumstance, so you're very hopeful about creating something new, but it's not delusion. And there's a difference. Delusion is not reality. It will never be reality because Neptune and Pisces is squaring off with, of course, the solar eclipse, but also Mercury, which is in Sagittarius, and the North Node that is in Gemini. It's not the right way to go. It's not north, and you're going in the wrong direction. You can't progress. You can't you won't receive this beautiful, sweet gift that's coming your way with the solar eclipse if you are limited by this rigid, conventional, traditional thinking, right? This comfort zone or this delusion that you've created. Also, for those that refuse to control themselves and they are abusing power and they just can't stop because they're fear based, this is going to be a very, very tough energy for some people because this will challenge you in every way. Every single way you will hit some sort of obstacle, limitation, and people will refuse to be of assistance to you. I mean, there's just, you're gonna hit that brick wall, that, you know, closed door. This also is very tied to ego. So for some of you who have been stuck in a misconception about yourself, if you believe your own lies and the facades that you've created to be who you really are, when in fact it's really not, it's a delusion, it's an illusion that you've created, then this is also a very humbling time from the universe. I mean, you're sitting in front of Saturn and you're paying your karmic debt right now. And if you will not be humble and, you know, on this day of reckoning, then this is going to be a very intense time for people who have to face the fact that they thought they had control when the truth was they never had control. It was all an illusion that's being shattered by the realization that their choices they're being held accountable for. You want your mind blown? That what actually is in control of the fate of our entire planet, of all humanity, is a teeny tiny little microorganism. It is in charge of where we are going to be going for the next, I would think next year. It just blows your mind when you put it into that perspective. It pulls you out of ego and it makes you see the big picture. What comes into play in energy like this, if you're in the negative, what's eclipsed into your life is reality, dude. And the truth. And the things that you've been avoiding are now you're being called out to start taking action on and resolve in your material realm. It's time to get control over your life. This conversation is about everything that has control over you and your ability to move forward. Everything. So the positive that comes out of the energy like this, Sagittarius energy opens your mind, broadens your perspective. You see things more clear. You use the elevated mind instead of the lower mind. You react for the greater good, not for an immediate want or need to be met. It is an expansion. It is boundaryless. And with a solar eclipse that is going to be happening in Sagittarian energy, so much clarity is going to be brought forth into your life that you've never had before. You will be able to identify things that you couldn't identify before. You'll recognize patterns in people. You'll be able to see through deception. You'll be able to decipher facts from fiction. You'll be able to identify who you are, what you are, why you are the way you are. You'll be unapologetically you. You'll be authentic. You'll be able to stand up for yourself. And you'll be able to challenge authority If you were a person who used to submit to pressure and to being oppressed and suppressed by others. This is an incredible time of clarity in your sense of identity. More importantly, it will help you be the person that you were always supposed to be before you were taught to conform and be something that was socially acceptable instead of authentically you. Also, this is a wonderful time of connection. We're not connecting because of some superficial need or want. We're connecting based on something that is more important than that, something more intimate, something deeper than that. We are swimming around in our emotions, and we are acknowledging that we are an emotional being. And that's what separates us from other mammals out there, is that we have emotions and they're okay, right? And we have really deep emotions. We have deep desires. We have deep wants. We have deep needs. And we just desire a connection. We desire to be understood on our most deepest levels. We need that connection. If anything that this pandemic has taught us is that isolation is where many of us lose utter power in our lives, that being connected to people is something that we can't live without. Other thing that is really being defined is this is opening up our mind and expanding our boundaries, and we are coming to new conclusions. So if you want to usher in the most positive energy into this and you want to be a receiver, you are done with walling up and barricading off receptivity. You want things to change. You are open for a new direction in your life. You will absolutely love this solar eclipse that is going to be in Sagittarius, because this is all about exploring new options and new ways of thinking that you never have. This is considering many different perspectives. And this is pointing you north. And when we are a receiver, and if we've been doing the work, and if we've been humbling ourselves, and if we've been doing this really deep dive that we've been having to do with Chiron and Aries, which has been in retrograde, if we've been really reaching deep inside of us and addressing the fact that we have weaknesses. I mean, oh my gosh, a microorganism has really humbled us to see that we are actually just a human being. We're not a god in our worlds. You know what I mean? We're not authority over all. What we say is not the end all be all. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're just a freaking human. Every single person is just a person. I don't care about what we've stamped on them, how much money they have, how much status they have. You're just a person. We're all just people. We all bleed. We all breathe air. We all excrete. We all need food. Like, that's basically what this is all about. It's humbling us to know that we're just all people. It doesn't matter about our skin color. It doesn't matter about our nationality. It doesn't matter about what continent we were born on. I mean, come on, man. None of that matters. We're humans living a human experience. And that's how we're all connected in this insane world. That's Sagittarian. It's as simple as that. And then that makes you hungry for more knowledge about the simplicity of that thought process. And it's a beautiful time for some of you guys that want to open yourself up to healing, adventure, and to grandiose thinking, and to idealizing an outcome again, and to becoming hopeful again. This is such blessed, wonderful energy. You're going to be so thankful that you went through this entire year to get to this point. Anyhow, guys, thank you so much for watching. Much love to all of you. And just go out there and be the change you guys want to see in the world. Be kind, be safe, be healthy, and I'll talk to you again real soon.